السلام ناظرین، میں ہوں بیرسٹر شہزاد اکبر اور آپ دیکھ رہے ہیں میرا یوٹیوب چینل۔ میرے ساتھ آج ایک بہت امپورٹنٹ گیسٹ ہیں اور ان کے ساتھ میں انگریزی میں بات کروں گا اور کوشش کروں گا کہ اس ویلاگ کو اردو میں بھی سب ٹائٹل کر سکوں اگر میری جو ٹیکنیکل صلاحیتیں ساتھ دے گی تب۔ So switching to English, I have today with me a very important guest, a very old and dear friend, Clive Stafford Smith, who is not only very old but also an old friend of mine, and we both have done a lot of sinister stuff together. And I think one day we will have a long vlog talking about all the stuff we've done together. But today I have Clive with me to talk about a very important and rather frustrating issue um, concerning Pakistan and the US. As you know from our previous vlog, Clive has been representing Pakistani educationist, unlike what most of the people or the Google tells us, a neurologist or neuroscientist, Dr. Aafia Siddiqui, who is in American prison for a very long time for something that she has not only not done, but she has suffered a great um, discomfort and torture and whatnot at the hands of her own countrymen, but also in the US. So today we have Clive with us, and we will start with asking Clive. Hi, Clive, how are you?
Well, I'm better off than poor Aafia Siddiqui, I'll say that.
So tell us about what's happening with Afia's case, because I believe there is a development. You were pursuing not her issues in the US, but also trying to push Pakistani government through a constitutional petition filed before Islamabad High Court. And we do believe from your writings and information that comes out that you had a very good judge as Justice Sardar Ijaz Ishaq, who has been on side, and he has been also trying to push Pakistani government. But I hear there is not some good news. So why don't you start by telling us what are the updates from Islamabad High Court?
Well, this is where we start. We start with the principle that Pakistan is a country that I greatly admire, largely because it is a country of the rule of law, or has been, and it has a constitution. Now Justice Sardar, I think, is a fundamentally decent human being. He's not on our side. He's on the side of the Pakistan constitution. And he's merely been in a non-adversarial way, and he's been very emphatic about that we're not meant to be in a battle with the Pakistan government, because here am I'm just the pro bono lawyer from America for Aafia. But the MOFA, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, is the government for Aafia. They have a fundamental constitutional duty to help her. So for a while there, we were all getting along okay. I got to say, I think the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is fabulously bad at its job, but we were at least trying to help them out. They have suddenly turned into Aafia's enemy, and they filed this ridiculous thing 2 weeks ago, saying that they'd done everything they could possibly do and possibly be required to do for Aafia. Now, they're mad, right? Aafia is in FMC Caswell. She's being sexually abused all the time. She's been raped. She's suffering horribly. It's Ramadan. I dare say a number of your listeners are enjoying their Ramadan, the blessed month of Ramadan, and they're looking forward to Eid. Aafia is going to be sexually abused on Eid. And
if I can just stop you there, because I want to get into that part as well. But before that, if I can ask you so that our listeners can actually understand that when the MOFA, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, has said in court that they have done what they could, can you please tell us what is that they have done so far in last over 1 or 2 years?
So listing, not the last 2 years, the last 20 years, listing what they've done is they helped me get a visa for Aafia Siddiqui to come and visit her sister. They went to visit Aafia a few times. They delivered a letter from Shehbaz Sharif to President Biden seeking clemency, which when no one responded, they did nothing about that. And that's really basically it. So this is a woman who's suffering, and your Pakistani passport says right on there that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs demands and requires that people should treat Pakistanis properly. that's really it. That's all they've done. And I've got a list, if you'd like to hear them, of what they should be doing. May I?
No, I think this is what people like to know, and so they can raise their voice as well. What is that the Pakistani government can do? Because I can tell you what an ordinary Pakistani thinks. They think, okay, Aafia Siddiqui is in US prison. There must have been a trial, and she must have been convicted. That's why she's serving a sentence. So, what can Pakistani government do? Because this is what I think people need to understand, maybe so that they can address their ask when they ask the government or anyone to interfere and do what they're supposed to do.
Well, let me first say simply, I've done my job and I've gone to Afghanistan 4 times, and I can prove that Aafia actually did nothing except be shot twice in the stomach, having been tortured for 5 years. But setting that aside, regardless of what she's alleged to have done, Pakistan should be trying to make sure that this woman's treated properly. Now, there are various things they could do. At the very, I've asked them over and over and over again, come up with a solution, propose a solution. I proposed, for example, that they swap Shakil Afridi, who the Americans want, for Aafia, a Dr. Afridi for Dr. Aafia. They've resisted that. Now, they've had many opportunities to do something like that. So, for example, when Raymond Davis went around killing people in Pakistan, they could have insisted on a swap then. Just 10 days ago, when Pakistan sent, what was his name? The
Muhammad Sharifullah, an Afghan national, but captured in Pakistan and extradited from Pakistan.
Right, and it goes by the name Jaffa. They could have said, okay, we're going to give you this guy. Will you please give us the daughter of the nation back? But they did none of that. So that's one solution. Now, another thing they can do is they can work with me. I'm going to go to the court in New York next week to try and get a motion for compassionate release. I had asked the government to support me in that and to file what's called an amicus brief, a friend of the court brief. The Attorney General of Pakistan approved the draft of the amicus brief that doesn't admit that they kidnapped her and they did all the awful things they honestly did do, the Pakistan government under Musharraf, but just says, look, give this poor woman a little compassion. But Mofa has said, no, we're not going to do that, even though the legal officer says they should do that. Now,
sorry, Clive, I'm just going to stop you here because two things that are very fundamental here and which are very basic, and I think basic things that every Pakistani needs to understand. So first of all, I think let me clear one logistical thing is that first of all, I believe you are representing Aafia Siddiqui pro bono, which means you are not charging her family or Pakistani government or anything, right?
That's right, of course.
So second is when you say that you found Pakistan government to file an amicus brief in the New York court, for that, the Attorney General office has, okay, they haven't gone all out and admitted that actually it was the folly of Musharraf that he wrongfully handed over Aafia to or oversold Aafia to the Americans. And by the way, the current Attorney General represents the government of the Sharifs, who actually have been complaining about Musharraf and they wanted to try him for treason and abrogation of constitution. So putting that aside, so he did not agree to put those things in the amicus, but he at least made a request for compassion and her release. And the Foreign Office refused to do that even?
They initially said they would, but then they refused to. And the reason they refused to was not for any good reason. It's because they've got this pathetic political thing against Judge Shahzad. The thing they're doing now has nothing to do with justice for Aafia or justice for anyone. It's all about the fact that they don't like a judge to instruct them on what their duty is. And so they're playing this stupid game. It's really so puerile.
And it's not the judge they don't like. It's basically the political atmosphere because this judge talks about the due process and he also is talking about due process for other political prisoners within Pakistan like Imran Khan. So that's why the MOFA or government does not really like this judge and they do not want him to, be, getting any sort of relief for anyone, be it Aafia Siddiqui or Imran Khan.
You're totally right. Now, look, he was the one who ordered Imran Khan to be brought to his court. And he did that, as far as I can see, because that's the fundamental right of any Pakistani, and presumably your former prime minister should have the same rights as any other prisoner. But you can see where the machinations are going with Imran Khan. I disagree with them. I think they're fundamentally wrong, but you can see it. Now, with Aafia, they're just being stupid, because why would they attack the judge who's not doing anything extreme? He's just saying, let's all work together to try to get Aafia home. I think it's true, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I think 90% of Pakistanis want Aafia to come home. They don't want her to be tortured and raped in a prison. So what is it about this government that makes them choose this battle? And, you know, at some level, I just don't think they know what they're doing. I think they're just being stupid, because, you know, who in Pakistan is going to agree that they should attack us and say that they've done everything they can possibly do? And, by the way, have a go at me and say that I shouldn't be allowed to talk in Pakistan. I mean, here am I doing their job for them. I'm doing it for nothing. I'm not charging them.
So now they want you to not talk in Pakistan about it? This is a new thing for me as well.
No, they criticized me. They criticized the judge for letting me talk in court. Now, the truth is, 3 months ago, they were asking me to tell them what they should be doing. And I did tell them, and I was trying to be friendly about it. But now, just in terms of this sort of pathetic little political game that they're doing, they're saying that one of the things Judge Sadar shouldn't do is let some person like Clive to show up in this court. Now, honestly, I take that quite personally. I have put countless hours into Aafia's case. I'm working day and night to try and get this poor woman justice. And for the Pakistan government, which is required under their own rules to get counsel for a Pakistan citizen abroad, for them to start complaining about me doing my job, I just find that slightly offensive.
So, I mean, we can clearly see the role of MOFA that they are playing. And I think you mentioned earlier that they have visited Aafia a few times in last, 20 years. And I believe from our conversations before that Aafia has complained about her being tortured and sexually abused in prison to Pakistani embassy and mission as well. As for my knowledge and recollection, this thing has not come up in Pakistan. It has not come up from MOFA's filing in the court or before the court, and also it's not a public knowledge. And for anyone in Pakistan, I think they believe that probably US prisons are, you know, some wonderful places. Can you tell us a bit about, because you have met Aafia now many times, and she has reported this to you as well. I mean, what is really going on there with Aafia, and why she's reporting to you, she's reporting to her own mission as well, but nothing seems to be happening?
But this is the fundamental issue from my perspective. This is a women's prison with 975 women in it. And they have a whole lot of men as guards. And these men require the women to go through strip searches to get anything. Aafia can't even get basic medical care unless she goes through a strip search. I don't understand why the US allows this in the first place, to have male guards in a women's prison. I just think there's something fundamentally wrong. It's being illustrated day in, day out in Aafia's case, where she alleges all sorts of sexual abuse. I wasn't sure whether to believe it when she first told me, so I looked into it. There have been 13 employees of this prison convicted of rape, including the Christian minister. And, you know, this is a place that has the highest sexual abuse complaint of any prison in America. And, you know, we're in this position. You may know of Omar Suleiman, the imam, who lives in Dallas, Fort Worth, and is offered to go and give religious solace to Aafia. The Pakistan government is not even supporting us on that. What possible reason is there for the government of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan to refuse to give us basic assistance so that Aafia can have an imam during Ramadan? I just think this is shocking. I don't know what their problem is.
And what role the consulate has played in this? Because this you have reported to the consulate, Aafia has reported to the consulate. have they formally complained to the US government of the treatment that Aafia is being subjected to, which is in violation of US law, international laws? I mean, we can name a number of laws, but this is, unbelievable. So have they even officially complained?
No, and this is the problem. I've asked them to intervene. We've sued the prison, obviously. I mean, my job is to sue this prison to stop abusing Aafia. But that's a very complicated and difficult and long-term issue. We're pushing it as fast as we can. I have begged the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Pakistan to intervene in that case as well, to simply say, do something about the rape allegations, let her have medical care, let her have an imam, basic things. Their response is that they supported me to get Dr. Iqbal Afridi in to see Aafia. Well, I did get him in, and he's a psychiatrist in Pakistan, very respected guy. When he came out, he said, this woman desperately needs help, and she's suffering immensely, and she's got to have medical care. MOFA says they've done their job just by getting him in there, helping me get him in there, to report that she really, really needs more help. This is crazy. And it took this judge to order MOFA to turn over their reports of their visits of Aafia, which are now filed in federal court in America. There was one woman who was great. I won't name her, but she was a very conscientious member of MOFA who reported all the sexual abuse, reported all the trauma that Aafia has gone through. They did nothing about that. The vast majority of the visits, they just do nothing at all. And, I've got to say, if I was the Prime Minister of Pakistan, I'd be talking about summoning the US ambassador. I'd be talking about whether we're going to do something about diplomatic relations with America. You cannot take a Pakistan citizen, rape her, sexually abuse her, traumatize her, and not do anything about it. I think it's disgusting is the word that Aafia Siddiqui used about it, her sister. And I think disgusting is the right term.
And do you think that the Pakistani diplomats, I mean, you've been dealing with from people, down under the food chain to the top level in Pakistan as well. Do you think that they care about Aafia Siddiqui or what happened to her? It's their indifference, or they're too afraid of Americans to, complain about it?
I think the real issue is they're afraid of the Americans. And if there's one thing that you and I know, Shahzad, it's that our current president, Donald Trump, despises cowards. And, he doesn't mind it if people say something, what they believe. He'll deal with that. And he would solve this problem in a minute. And I'm going to Washington next week, and I'm going to talk to a bunch of Republican senators to get them to talk to him and to get them to tell the Pakistan government, look, I'll tell you one thing. There's $1 billion out there that DOJ can save overnight by just cutting off their military aid to Pakistan. I'm not saying they should do that necessarily, but why would the US turn over all this money to Pakistan and not require something in return that's sensible? And, I think probably Elon Musk is going to say this is an easy $1 billion not to spend. And my advice to the American government, and I do have the ear of very powerful people in the US, is you got to get them to start behaving. If there was, Donald Trump is convinced that the election was stolen from him in the last time round. Well, there's one person who clearly did have an election stolen from him, and Trump likes Imran Khan. Pakistan is treading on very thin ice if they don't start behaving themselves and acting like a real government instead of just kissing up to the minor functionaries in America.
And I believe from your recent press release as well that, apparently there was one letter written to President Biden and he didn't even respond or acknowledge even.
That's right. And I will say this for the Prime Minister, Shahbaz Sharif. He wrote a very personal letter to Biden. I saw the draft that had been written for him, and he changed it and he made it very personal. And I thank him for that, frankly. You know, my clients, I want the help of their home government. But that letter was supposedly delivered to the White House, and it was delivered, 3 months before Biden left office, and there was never a response. You just don't do that when you're a government. You don't have a prime minister of one country write to a president of another, and you just don't bother to respond. Now, Mofa's, I've asked Mofa, what are you going to do about it? This is a slap in the face to Pakistan. It's a slap in the face to Shahzad Sharif. And you know what? Donald Trump would love to know about that, because Donald Trump was not Joe Biden's #1 fan. And if you went to Trump and said, look, Biden was really rude to us, we'd like you to deal with it, Trump would listen to you. But these people are so weak and so cowardly, they won't even do that.
I mean, it's very unfortunate, Clive, that we have a government which basically doesn't care about its own, not only its own prestige, but the prestige of a country and its people, and have the ability to even demand a reply. But coming to the conclusion of our talk, I mean, I'm unable to actually say what is that we can do, or Pakistani government can do, or Pakistanis who are listening to us can ask Pakistani government to do to help Aafia, because as I understand, there are two things here. One is that while she's in the US custody, she needs to be treated well. She needs to be treated like a human being and not the way she's being treated. And I think there the whole responsibility lies on Pakistani state. But what is that we can do to push our government, I mean, which is not our representative government, and that's another topic, but still, whoever is in power, what can we do to push them to basically bring Aafia? And one question, if I may ask, I mean, a lot of people will tell me that what you are working on, or what you saying, it's not possible. US is never going to return Aafia. Do you think, is there a hope for Aafia?
Of course there's a hope. I've worked out deals for lots of people. Look what's happening in Afghanistan, for goodness sake. We've worked out deals between the Afghan government and the American government to get people out of Guantanamo, to get people back from prison in America. The Afghans are very proactive, and I've met with the Afghan government, and they're willing to be proactive for Aafia. And I say, look, I'm really grateful to you, but really, really, that's the Pakistan government's job. So the issue here is that the Pakistan government is not trying. My message to the deep state in Pakistan, which is the people who are behind the current government, is, look, you can either do your job, or my job is to make your life painful. And I want to say this. I have people from the Pakistan ISI. I have people from American intelligence. I have all sorts of people who are willing to come forward and are going to testify in New York in our litigation that's going to tell the truth about what happened back when your people, Shahzad, your government, Musharraf, kidnapped Aafia and abducted her children and killed one of them. I've got witnesses to that. Now, I invite people from the ISI and I invite people from the CIA to continue to come forward, because I think it's good for your soul to tell the truth about what happened to this woman. But I am really looking forward to a 3-week hearing in New York City where we expose all of this. And our witnesses include the former president of Afghanistan. All sorts of people are going to tell the truth about what really happened. So this is coming down the pike at the Pakistan authorities, and they neither accept it or not accept it. I think it's in their best interest to let Aafia go and to get her back, no matter what the cost, no matter who they have to swap, because otherwise I'm going to make their life very, very painful. In the meantime, though, I'd much rather we resolved it. So I'd like the Pakistani people to go to Shahbaz Sharif, to go to his government and say, what is wrong with your Ministry of Foreign Affairs? That they honestly think they can't do anything more for Aafia. Just tell them to work with Clive, to work with people, to stop being such idiots over Judge Sadar, and just enforce the Pakistan constitution. If they do that, if we work together, we'll get her out. If they continue to undermine what I'm trying to do, I'm just going to make their life painful, because that's my job.
Well, thank you, Clive. I think what you have referred to as deep state, unfortunately, I mean, they are the real decision makers in Pakistan, and they have to, I hope and I pray they listen to what you're trying to tell them, because unfortunately, the reality in Pakistan today is that they're right now busy shooting their own people. They just shot a 13-year-old Baloch boy day before yesterday, and now they have arrested Dr. Marang Baloch and her sisters. They have shot people on 26th of November last year when they were trying to peacefully protest in Islamabad. So there seems to be a complete madness here, and I really hope and pray that they do listen to some reason, if not on the fate of Pakistanis, at least for this poor woman who is languishing in the US prison. And we wish you very good luck. And I think, unfortunately, I have to tell you that you might have to expose their involvement in your upcoming hearings in New York, and bring all your witnesses to show the world what duplicity and what sort of role they actually have played in the past. And if they are not ready to help their own people, then they should be exposed. And once again, I would like to thank you as well for doing the job that you're doing.
Well, thank you. And I'm going to New York on Wednesday, and I will pursue that there. But I want to stress, I would much rather have a friendly conversation than to expose everything. But if my hand's forced, I'll have to do it. But thank you very much for showing interest in this. I think it's a really fundamental issue of human rights for Aafia, and she is the most traumatized, most abused person I've ever represented in 41 years, and we need to get her out of there.
Thank you, Clive, and wish you all the best, and looking forward to hearing some good news from you while you're in the US, and we'll probably have a follow-up on that as well. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye.